Welcome to True Crime Unleashed. What I want to talk about tonight is we all know the trial of Brian Koberger is coming up uh, within the next month and a half. Here's my thoughts on that. The prosecution has two things to prove to the jury: probable cause and beyond a reasonable doubt. Can they, the prosecution, get the jury to believe that? Will it be through a witness? Will it be through some type of evidence? Because, after all, they are sealing up all the evidence. That's the big question. Can they get the jury to believe that this man is guilty using probable cause, burden of proof, and beyond a reasonable doubt? Ann Taylor is going to get to cross-examine. And she's going to get to ask certain questions of the state's witnesses. About other suspects if they had been ruled out, or but she is not allowed to ask the question about any specific part of the investigation or any specific individual as a potential alternate perpetrator without first raising the matter with the court outside the jury's presence. So she cannot ask the state's witnesses about an alternate perpetrator with the jury sitting in there in the courtroom. Does that tie Ann Taylor's hands? To a point, it does tie her hands. Because we all know she wants to ask that question in front of the jury. She wants to ask the alternate perpetrator question in front of the jury, but the judge has decreed she's not allowed to. She has to ask that when the jury's not in the courtroom. So it goes back to, can the prosecution get the jury to believe in their probable cause, the burden of proof, and beyond a reasonable doubt? Can the prosecution get the jury to believe that? Or can the defense get the jury to believe that Brian didn't do it? This all goes to innocent until proven guilty. But he's been sitting in jail almost 3 years. It'll be 3 years this coming December. And as far as the prosecution goes, we don't know exactly what type of evidence they have. And I'm going to repeat that comment I made earlier. We don't know what type of evidence they have. We don't know if they're sitting on a witness from the beginning. We don't know that. This all goes back to the beginning of the investigation when there was all that mix up, and I do believe cover up at the very beginning. Could the prosecution have a witness they're not telling nobody about, and it dates back to the beginning of this case? Could it be the DoorDash driver? We don't know. All I know is they seem very sure and confident that they could put this guy away. That's all I know is they seem very sure, confident, and like they have a sixth sense that they know they have the right person. There's a part of me that don't believe that they have the right person. I'm a truth seeker. I'm going to get to the bottom of the truth wherever the dominoes fall. Whether he be guilty or whether he be innocent. I'm not going to rush to judgment. If he's guilty, I'll be the first one to come out and say, I was wrong. Yeah, he did do it. But if he's innocent, I will be the first one to say, I knew it all along that he didn't do it. That's something we all have to think about. We have to ponder exactly how this man, this person, came across the radar of not only the MPD, the FBI, the ISP. How did a criminology student going for his PhD in criminology and cloud based forensics, how did he land in the middle of this storm? Nobody that's studying criminology, that's going for their PhD, is stupid enough to drive their own vehicle to commit a heinous murder on November 13th, 2022. Nobody who's studying criminology is stupid enough to bring their own phone. The perpetrator could have left their phone at home, rented a car. Why would you drive your own vehicle and bring your own phone to a quadruple homicide scene? Ask yourself that. Is that the actions of a criminology student, or is that the actions of a complete moron? All this just makes me wonder. Why is it feels like Judge Hippler is covering up for somebody or covering up for the prosecution? Why doesn't he want Ann Taylor to ask about the alternate perpetrator theory in front of the jury? Why does he want Ann Taylor to ask about that when the jury is not in the courtroom? What's the judge trying to hide? Why is he protecting the prosecution? I already know he is pro prosecution. He's a no nonsense judge. And he doesn't want this case in his courtroom because he's made that abundantly clear the day he got this court case. I would say it's nice to meet you, but I wouldn't want to tell a half truth. And it just seems like whenever Ann Taylor is up there talking, he seems annoyed. He seems very annoyed. And he's also very annoyed at Brian because of some of the stuff that he said in that doc denying the alternative perpetrator theory. And instead of mentioning Ann Taylor, the way he puts it, the court will apply these same parameters at trial regarding defendant's cross-examination of law enforcement. He may inquire as to reasonableness of the investigation, including investigating and ruling out other leads. He is not, however, permitted to question law enforcement about the investigation or any specific individual as a potential alternate perpetrator without first raising the matter with the court outside the jury's presence. It is not sufficient for a defendant merely to offer up unsupported speculation that another person may have done the crimes. Such speculative blaming intensifies the grave risk of jury confusion, and it invites the jury to render its findings based on the emotion or prejudice. That right there, basically, Judge Hippler is saying, whatever you're trying to say, I don't want to hear it. He's basically calling Brian a conspiracy theorist, just like he did with Cy. And he's telling Ann Taylor, "Oh, I don't mind if you ask these questions, just not in front of the jury." I do want to give a special shout out to Christy Nevada. I am so proud that her channel is doing really well. And Christy, you really are